In the great hall of the Hubbubbery, Dan, Hunter. Two pop culture buffs assemble to ponder, jest, and ramble aimlessly. This is the Hubbubbery Ramblery.
I think if you're gambling, at a certain point, you're going to have to be rambling.
Yeah.
I'm sure, Kenny Rogers, the gambler, would counter what I'm saying.
Was he a rambler?
He was not a rambler because he knew when to hold them and he knew when to fold them.
Yeah.
He knew when to walk away and when to run. Don't count your money when you're sitting at the table. There's time enough for counting when the dealing's done. When to hold them. Here's a clap-along. It's a clap-along song, man. He was all about the clap-along.
I think we're done here. That's really all we need.
So what would we call this? This is the Hubbubbery Ramblery.
The Hubbubbery Ramblery?
Yeah.
We had a few names. How about...
You want to talk about these
names?
Talk about
the names? What do you think? So we had... Ramble Vision was one of them.
Ramble Vision, Rambly Hubbubbery, which is
Hubbubbery.
Which I love actually, but I thought being brand and advertising pros that we are, I thought we should have Hubbubbery first.
That's a good idea. Unhinged, I think, was a word we threw around just because we're a little unhinged.
That's every time we talk, though. The Night Shift, which is in keeping with this. Yeah. Which, great movie if you haven't seen it.
Night Shift.
Night Shift.
Who was in that one?
It's one of Ron Howard's first movies. And it's Henry Winkler. The Fonz.
Right. Does he do that in the movie?
He does not. He plays.
Wouldn't that be funny? Like every single scene he come in, he's like, Ron's like, okay, I know that's what you're known for, but let's stop doing that.
Yeah. No, he doesn't do that.
Go ahead.
No, but he's in it. And Michael Keaton. It was like his star-making role.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great, and Shelley Long is in it too. And of course, a brief appearance of Clint Howard.
He's in all of Ron Howard's.
He is. Yeah. It's a fun movie. It's of the time.
Yeah, right.
But
a lot of those were.
Yeah, but not as, when you say of the time and then you're like, the worst case scenario of the time movie is Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, we should cover that one. So, hey, I don't know if you've noticed, but we started this off just exactly as we promised it.
We did.
Totally rambling.
Yeah.
That wasn't even planned.
No, off script, off the rails.
Yeah, that was off script. Anyway, this is a show we're calling Hubbubbery Ramblery. Right?
Ramblery.
That's
the Hubbubbery Ramblery.
That's what we're going with right now.
We wanted something that was simple and easy to say.
Yeah, Hubbubbery Ramblery. There's a lot of mouth movement. Hubbubbery Ramble. I don't know what we were thinking.
Yeah, well,
I think it's too late to change.
It's too late for that.
Okay.
No.
So anyway, the idea behind this show is, hey, we have movies that we've covered, and we'll continue to do that. But this one just gives us an opportunity to talk about whatever comes to mind, random things.
Things that are happening around us, happening in the world.
Right.
Just hot topics to touch on. Have a nice cup of Joe.
Yeah.
You know what I like about this is I like when I'm drinking my coffee and I drink out of this.
Yeah.
I can't see anything else.
No one can see
it
you
blocks
either.
out the sun. But that's sort of like, I'm going to put this conversation on pause. Hold on, watch.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay, great.
See?
Well, you know what? Actually, that brings up a good point. I've been meaning to ask you about this. It's this coffee mug of yours has been in all of our episodes so far, it's sort of the most absurd mug I've ever seen.
I always say that I like a big cup of coffee. I like a large cup of coffee. I keep going back and refilling over and over and over.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, if it holds a pot, to me, that's perfect because that's about what I drink.
A pot.
And about a pot a day. And this one was a gift from my family, and I was like, that's just about the right size. It makes a lot of noise. It does some Darth Vader stuff.
Okay, great.
This is, coffee. I don't know. That didn't even sound like, it's not even close to James Earl Jones.
You were trying to do Darth Vader? I didn't even pick up on it.
I didn't even know, because I was just like, what would he?
Yeah. Yeah. Is that him trying to cool off the coffee? He's just blowing on it. that's the sound of James Earl Jones cooling his coffee off.
The dark side. And it is the dark side because I don't put any creamer or sugar or anything like that.
I think let's spend the rest of the show talking about mugs.
Yeah.
Mine.
I like yours. Yours is branded, on brand.
It is on brand.
Since we're rambling, I thought we'd talk about this. So we should, start this with like, what's the hubbub? And, kind of talk about, things that have happened recently or going on. Star Wars Celebration. It was in Japan. So I was not. But I have gone in the past.
And what kind of antics did you see at these occasions?
I mean, it's your typical convention. They've got the big, the floor, which has all the vendors and so much stuff to see. And for Celebration specifically, they have the I call them the big O's. The big O's, which is Lego, Hasbro, and Funko.
Okay. I was thinking it was like a cereal or something.
No. Lego, Hasbro, and Funko. And so they have the big premier booths that you actually have to get a ticket to get into. Wow. Or you can just wait in line. And I have not been in the Funko booth ever. It is always, because they always have an exclusive that they premiere and sell at the event. And it's usually a pretty big ticket item. And I always see people walking around with them. It's something like massive. It's in a huge box.
Yeah.
And to make myself feel better, I'm like, I wouldn't want to carry that around anyway.
Yeah, sure.
No,
who would want that?
You see everybody walking around all jolly with their big old boxes. It doesn't seem to bother them, but, I wouldn't want to carry it around anyway.
Yeah. Right.
And then Lego is always, they usually, you can get in there and see, they always show like new Lego sets that are coming out. And then Hasbro, who's the toy maker of record right now. Yeah. And they always show a lot of stuff. And a lot of times, sometimes they have some of the toy designers there. So cool. You can talk to them and stuff. It's very cool. That's where I first encountered Geeky Tiki, but I avoided actually getting any Star Wars themed tiki mugs because I love tiki mugs, I love tiki culture, but I also love Star Wars. So I'm like, hoodoo. I'm not going to get into that because that's going to turn into a thing.
How long did that last?
Well, so I went, and then the guy who owns Geeky Tiki, he was like, why don't you get any? And I was like, because Brandon, next thing you know, I'm going to have to like buy a shelf and I'm not going to have enough room and I'll have to get a bigger shelf. And hey, you know what happened? Exactly that.
Well, see, that's the issue. You were talking to the owner?
Yeah.
Well, you know what he wants you to do.
I know.
He wants you to buy all.
He
wants you to make a shelf and buy all of them.
I did.
You did exactly what he wanted you to do.
I did so much. Yeah. And sure enough, I try to sneak them in on the shelf, when my wife's not looking.
How does that go?
Sometimes I'm successful, but I'd say it's like a 10% success rate. Yeah. But most of the time, it's like as you walk up the steps, and she's like, "What's this stormtrooper? Where'd that Yoda come from?" And I'm like, And I pretend like it's been there the whole time.
Well, I get you on the whole collection thing. I think we're both sort of collectors in that regard. Yeah. Honestly, it's sort of amazing that our set right now isn't cluttered with a whole bunch of our junk, but it's very clean.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's actually all on the edges of the frame, though. Yeah. Because you can't see and we're at risk of it collapsing on top of us.
Yeah, we're completely accurate there.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Celebration.
So Celebration.
So the event itself.
They have the event, and it's like a 3-day, 4-day event, and they each day they have panels all day, but they also have the main show, and it's usually in the main auditorium or main stage, and sometimes they have side stages for overflow. Okay. And in previous ones, they've announced like the trailer for the new movie, or they talk about the new season of a show. And as it so happens, they did actually announce a new movie, and then they talked about a new movie we all knew about. So the new movie we all knew about, this is going to be The Mandalorian and Grogu. This is the movie that Jon Favreau directed. Yeah. We don't know a lot about it. Obviously, it's continuing the adventures of Mandalorian and Grogu.
Remind me again, and spoilers for those who haven't watched Mandalorian. So after, what was the third season? Was Moff Gideon on that? Was the big battle?
The big battle, all the Mandalorians.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And they had the space pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, I'm all about that.
Who doesn't love
space pirates? I mean, that's like the extra.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why that movie Treasure Planet should have been huge.
Yeah, no, not so much.
But so it ended with them kind of in their little homestead, and he was sitting on the porch.
Yeah, Grogu's making
playing, floating those space frogs in the air.
So where that left off, did Celebration cover? What did they cover?
We get to see the appearance of a character. I saw one thing.
Okay.
And it's a character that we saw in one of the episodes. Man, I can't think of his name. I'm blanking on his name. But I don't want to spoil it anyway. But it was a character from the TV show Rebels.
Okay. Got it.
Zeb. It's Zeb.
So you just spoiled it.
I saw a picture.
Said you weren't going to.
Well, I mean, we saw him on the show, and everybody was like, "Oh, yeah." So he had like a cameo. Yeah. So I think we'll be seeing him again.
That makes sense. Yeah, it was sort of odd that he was just there and
brought
such
him
a large character in Rebels, and then he just didn't really do much. So okay,
so that's one of the movies I talked about. Yeah. Okay. The other movie, which was a rumor, Ryan Gosling was going to be in a Star Wars movie.
As like Ken or something?
Yeah. Everybody's like, what does that mean?
Right.
And Sean Levy actually came out on stage. Now,
And Sean Levy, the
Sean
director
Levy, who
of
is the Deadpool. But yeah, so this movie's called Star Wars Starfighter. And they announced it, and they didn't give a lot of detail. The only thing they did say is it's set 5 years after the rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
So we know that. So we have a place and time in the timeline because, sometimes these shows are before, they're after.
Right. Do we know where?
We don't know where.
Okay.
We don't really know the details, but we do know, I mean, there was reference to the Force. The one thing that we do know is that this is way further along in production than their normal movies that they announced. And I'm talking specifically like Patty Jenkins.
Yeah.
When she announced Rogue Squadron, everybody got so excited and they shot a little trailer.
Yeah.
And
that was the extent of it.
And that was it. Then it went away.
Yeah.
And then it came back. And then now I don't know. It seems to like come back and go.
In limbo.
Damon Lindelof had something announced. Rian Johnson had a whole other trilogy that he was going to do. There's still discussion with the Taika Waititi movie. The surprise about this was that they're well into pre-production, and Sean Levy even said, "No, we're in production." So this thing's like getting ready to roll.
Yeah,
which is good news because, like I said, they've announced things and people get excited and then they go away. So this is one where it's like, okay, look, you're going to come out and you're going to announce something. You're going to bring this actor out. You're going to bring this director out. Right. You got to really, come up with the goods.
So has there been any talk about this before? Celebration?
Just a rumor. I had heard a rumor about Ryan Gosling Star Wars movie, and that's about the extent of what I heard.
Okay.
So
I'm out of touch. I haven't heard anything about
there hasn't been a whole lot out there. And even that was like, I don't even know where I heard that. I mean, if they do one thing, I mean, it's calling it Starfighter, it's like it does lean towards the action. And I do like one thing that really stood out in The Last Jedi, which is polarizing, and I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
But when in that opening sequence with Poe Dameron, and when we see him, show off his expertise as an X-wing pilot, it's fantastic. It really, it was like, because he moves that thing around like a hot rod, and it was pretty cool. So I was kind of like, if we could just take that and make a whole movie out of it, it could be pretty awesome. So we'll see.
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember games when I was younger. Those were always some of the most fun to play. And
X-Wing pilot, and then TIE Fighter. Yeah, I mean, it was just the core of the experience. And so, I mean, I think if we can kind of maybe circle around that a little bit, it could just be a fun movie. And I think, Sean, if that's the goal, fun and action and just a good time, Sean Levy might be the right guy.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of interesting. Cool. And then they announced some TV stuff. I mean, obviously TV's been, so TV's obviously been, television, streaming.
Okay.
Let me say
I'm not big on...
Let me say content and streaming content.
Okay, got it.
Disney Plus has been, I mean, that's where Star Wars has really thrived, has been, in long form. I mean, to varying degrees of success.
And you got Mandalorian, you got Andor.
You have
Obi-Wan.
Second season going on right now.
Right. Right.
Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, the Acolyte, which I didn't hate. There were some acting discrepancies. I didn't hate it, but I think there was some world building there that could have further explored, like Darth Plagueis. Anyway. And then all the animated shows. And the next one I'm going to talk about is an animated show coming out.
Okay.
And this was a huge surprise for everybody. And they brought out the voice actor of this character, which is Maul. Darth Maul. Darth Maul is getting an animated series. It's called Maul, Shadow Lord. Sam Witwer is he's the voice actor. He's been the voice actor for Darth Maul in all of the animated series. So
he wasn't the actor in.
He was not. That's Ray
Menace,
Park.
right?
He was not. He's not Ray Park, even though that wasn't Ray Park's voice in Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
But Sam Witwer, well loved in the and just a really likable, nice guy. Always willing to interact with the fans. He's always at the conventions. He signs all the stuff. People run into him all the time. He's always taking pictures with people.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's really adopted the role and is sort of known. Anyway, it says it explores his activities as a crime lord and his relationship with a new apprentice. Well, for those who don't know, Darth Maul at the end of Phantom Menace, we see him kind of split.
He
went to
left?
Splitsville.
He left. Is that what you mean by split?
He did. He left in two directions.
Oh, got it.
We see him come apart, which of course, for a lot of people was a big drag when that movie came out because
mostly for him.
Well, for him, but everybody loved that character and was so excited. And then he's like, well, then you realize, oh no, he's chopped in half.
Yeah. But as we know, when we fall down,
you fall down in anything in Star Wars, you're okay.
Yeah, you're probably fine.
Well, that's why everybody's waiting for Mace Windu to come back. Because he had the biggest fall.
Yes,
so he's probably, he bounced off of a balloon or a bubble.
Yeah,
something.
Yeah. Anyway, we're rambling.
Darth Maul, the character, the short version is the character didn't die, and he came back in the series The Clone Wars, and then also we saw him in the series Star Wars Rebels. This is going to be somewhere in the middle along the way.
Okay.
So this is just sort of like an unexplored story with Darth Maul. So they're bringing him back.
That's cool.
Another one is Star Wars Visions Volume 3. If you haven't seen Star Wars Visions, really, really cool show. It pulls in a lot of animation styles. It's grounded in anime. Yeah. But it's just sort of these ancillary stories or, kind of related to the Star Wars universe. It's really worth checking out. They're shorts. The episodes aren't very long and there's not a lot of them. Okay. But some characters that have appeared in that, the Ronin, is really well liked, which looks like something straight out of, he looks like a character out of Kurosawa. He's got the blade, but it's a lightsaber, but it still looks like the long katana. Yeah. And his he has an R2D2 who has a straw hat. Yeah. And Funko actually had made
I think I saw that one.
Yeah, I think it was a Target exclusive, but one of the big exclusives. So that's a big thing, toy exclusives. Sure. The Ronin was highly sought after, which makes sense. A lot of Star Wars is based on, Japanese cinema. The movie The Hidden Fortress is heavily influenced Star Wars. And then there's another story, another series, a limited series coming out called The Ninth Jedi, which I don't know other than there's apparently 8 more before that.
I suppose so. Any idea when this takes place?
Nope. No, anything about it, but that was announced. And then the 2 more projects, Ahsoka Season 2, they're working on that. And somebody named Hayden Christensen was around at the convention. Obviously, he was in the first season of Ahsoka as Anakin and Darth Vader. And we also saw him in Obi-Wan. What's cool about that, about his sort of journey is that, especially now that we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith, it's in the theaters now. Get your fancy, expensive popcorn buckets.
Yeah, he did a little promo.
Did a little promo. I saw him in a little commercial, and he had like a little Darth Vader sipper and a big old plastic bucket.
Yeah, he's had a bit of a resurgence.
He has. A lot of that has been because of the convention circuit.
Yeah.
And a lot of the characters from the prequels have, now we're 20 years later from the last of the prequel movies.
So you have a whole generation that's come after these.
It is a whole generation, and having gone and seen the reception of these characters, and that includes Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar, and he was actually at Celebration. People love him, and I have to say it's pretty infectious to watch people. It's like that's when you realize that's their Star Wars.
Yeah.
My niece and nephew, I mean, they didn't grow up with me or with the previous generation. It's like their Star Wars when they were kids, when they were like 9, 10, 11 years old. This is what they saw was the prequels, and they love it. When you think about it, there's no like one right Star Wars, which is what makes it so impressive, because now we're in 2027, because at the end of this celebration in Japan, they announced when the next one is. It's going to be in Los Angeles, and it's because it's going to be the 50th anniversary of Star Wars coming out in the theaters.
Well, that should be a fun time. Do you think you're gonna make the?
Yeah, I'm hoping to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I will go. I'm planning on it, and I may even pony up for the Jedi VIP pass, which sells out in like 30 seconds. But it guarantees you seating at the different, because some of these you cannot even get into the arena to see the thing, and sometimes you're in the overflow, which is like you get really excited, you clap, and it's just a screen.
Yeah,
they're not there. They can't see you. But I have been at a few of them, and it was funny. Like the one that I went to, I was like, oh, I got to get to the airport, and it was on a Sunday morning. But I'm like, I got time. I'm gonna go check this out. And it was for Mandalorian.
You made a good decision.
Just to give you a sense of like, before that came out, it was on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And it was not in the main auditorium. It was in a little side one.
Yeah.
And Favreau was there and Pedro Pascal. And
that's crazy.
It is now,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I'm hoping to go to that, and we'll see. But that was like the big to do over the weekend. A lot of announcements, a lot of stuff coming. Well, some other stuff was going on, here, stateside.
Speaking of other things going on, well, we both, with our kids, went to see a very magical movie, I would say. I mean, you got Star Wars on one hand, and then on the other hand, you got Minecraft.
The Minecraft movie. Yeah, that's right. Still going strong at the box office. I think you saw it. Yeah, maybe a couple weeks before me.
Opening weekend, my oldest wanted to see it for his birthday celebration, so I went to see that. It was kind of fun being in a theater again where there were reactions.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all throughout the movie, you have everybody yelling out stuff.
It is. I mean, it's kind of funny because obviously there's been a lot of... I think a lot of blown out press. Hey, the press blew stuff out. Who would have ever thought that would happen?
They do that kind of thing?
Apparently. But so there's been a lot of like press around the whole thing with the chicken jockey.
All right. So tell me about this. What is this chicken jockey?
Okay.
Nonsense?
Well, I mean, so as someone who I never played Minecraft because when it came out. Yeah. So my nephew, he was all about Minecraft. And I remember watching him play it. And I remember thinking, that looks like crap.
It literally looks like, because it's a bunch of pixels.
blocks.
Yeah.
Oh, like why does this look so bad?
Yeah.
I'm trying to like stay on top of the next generation of gaming and graphics and processors and resolution, and then he's got this like junky block game.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, that looks like a game about digging.
Yeah.
And then I kept telling him, because it was, I remember when he was playing it, and it was really snowy outside. I go, hey, you know what? Why don't we grab some shovels? We can go Minecraft the driveway right now.
Wow. So you're kind of a jerk.
It was about digging. I was like, how is this game about?
How about you go Minecraft the driveway out?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and my role as uncle, I feel like that's the kind of stuff I should be saying.
Good. And then at that point, you were officially an old man.
I was like, this game looks like crap.
Yeah. Go outside for
but
a
I
change.
never played it. And then, I have kids and they're playing it. And then I was like watching them and they're building all this stuff. And I'm like, well, it's pretty impressive. And, so I knew enough about the world. I mean, I am a gamer. I just never played Minecraft because I thought it looked like crap.
Yeah.
I'm just being a graphics snob.
Yeah.
But the creation and the creativity part.
Right. Yeah. I think especially for kids that age,
wholly get and appreciate. And I kind of, I get it now.
You have kids who don't really have control over much at that age.
Right.
And to give them a platform like Minecraft to do whatever they want. I mean, it's, an open world of possibilities.
It's completely fascinating.
Yeah. My oldest will be watching a YouTube video showing him how to do something, and he'll be playing Minecraft and doing the things. So it's like, oh man, this multitasking.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, they get into it. So it's proven to be wildly popular, and they made a movie out of it.
And this was, and what's funny is the movie is like, they had Jack Black. Of course they do. Yeah. Now, I like Jack Black. I have nothing but a positive vibe on Jack Black. I think he's a genuine dude.
Yeah.
He's really decent to people. He always seems to take time to talk to fans, and he is a fan. He's also a gamer too. And if you haven't heard the song "Video Games" by Tenacious D, it's worth checking out because it's pretty. He's clearly a gamer.
Yeah.
Which is, kind of cool because, being in the Jumanji movies and the Super Mario movie,
Bowser. Right.
Yeah. So, he's in it, and he's Jack Black.
Yeah.
He does the Jack Black thing. I mean, I think they just are like, let him. I don't even know if he had a script.
I don't know. It looked like he just got out of bed one day and someone called him up and said, hey, you want to be in the Minecraft movie? And he said, sure. And he just came over and
just started shooting some stuff and filming, and they just let it roll. It's kind of like what we're doing, but,
it makes money.
$multi-million movie. Yeah.
Right.
But then you've also got, what's his name?
Aquaman?
Aquaman's in it. Yeah.
You got Aquaman. His name is from Germany. I'll put that in post.
Yeah. And he's, this is great because I totally blanked on that guy's name.
Yeah. What is
and he's going to be Lobo, which is pretty awesome too. He's going to be Lobo in the Supergirl movie.
Oh. Okay.
Which, if you haven't seen if you don't know the character Lobo, awesome character from the DC universe. And when they had him playing Aquaman, I was like, why are they having him play Lobo? He literally looks like the character. But
hang on a second. Jason Momoa.
Thank you.
We knew his name.
He's really good in the movie. Yeah. Plays against type.
Yeah, big oaf. Yeah, kind of sort of
not cool.
No.
Living in the past. But really well done. And the chemistry between he and Jack Black was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. The big musical number at the end.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah. It was, the movie is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Okay, so going back to where we started this conversation.
The press and getting all the
things. Which was, so you got the
chicken jockey.
The chicken jockey, and explain this to me.
So there's a scene in the movie, and I having not played the game, and I don't remember the kids ever even talking about a chicken jockey.
Apparently there's a rare occurrence, this chicken jockey.
Oh, okay, well that helps.
Yeah.
But there's the little Frankenstein baby looking thing, and there's a wrestling sequence.
That was a zombie.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks like a Frankenstein baby. See, I don't know.
Clearly, we don't play this game.
This little green guy.
I don't know if we mentioned that.
Who looks like Frankenstein, a zombie. Yeah. Looks like Frankenstein. Anyway, they're wrestling because why not? Yeah. And all of a sudden, this little guy shows up and he gets on top of a chicken. And it's the chicken jockey.
Yeah.
And apparently this sequence in the movies, at the movie theaters, has caused an uproar, a ruckus.
In what way?
A kerfluffle.
A kerfluffle?
A nanny. I don't know. All of these things.
A kerfluffle.
A kerfluffle. Oh. And
a lot of L's
a real
in that
Donnybrook.
word. Okay.
I'm going to use all the old-timey phrases. Anyway, so kids are like just jumping up and they're throwing popcorn and getting crazy. And there's been some incidents and then, but it's turned into this sort of meme. And then, because that happened, then other kids are trying to outdo that. And so it's sort of escalated to the point where, I don't know, did you get like a little warning sheet?
Oh, no.
Yeah,
we went opening weekend.
Oh, you went opening weekend.
So
we walked in, they had like little warning sheets like, we want you to enjoy it. Don't do that. And then they even had a little like a stinger before the movie, like, hey, have a good time. Don't do that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So I kind of see both sides to that. I mean, obviously, you have a bunch of people in the movie theater who aren't going to appreciate that if it happens. Yeah. But at the same time, movie theaters, I don't know if you've heard, aren't doing great.
Well, okay.
And it'll kind of get people to come in. It's sort of an experience.
I think if it's to the point of trashing the place, that's not cool. Because it does come down on the people
within
who work
reason.
there. Yeah, it's like, don't be destructive. Right. Don't do damage. And don't hurt anybody else's livelihood in any way. I am a person who actually saw Rocky Horror Picture Show in the theater, and I guarantee you, I had the water guns, I had the toast, I had the toilet paper.
Right.
We did all the stuff.
This is all completely out of context. None of this makes sense.
It was the same thing. It was like, we were chucking
toast?
Yeah, because there's a scene in the movie. It's so random, but it was like there's a scene in the movie where Dr. Frankenfurter says, a toast. And whoosh, everybody whipped toast. Wow. It just became a thing.
That's really clever.
Yeah, and I cooked that toast like 4 or 5 rounds in the toaster. It was solid.
Nice. So did someone like flip the toast and then with the water gun?
No, the water gun is for a rain sequence, and everybody's like,
totally. I'm sorry,
spraying each other,
ridiculous.
Spraying each other with water guns.
That up.
I mean, if you went and saw Rocky Horror Picture Show in the theater, you were going to get wet. Yeah, you're getting clocked with toast. I mean, it was all the stuff.
So how did the movie theaters react?
They embraced it. It was the midnight movie. I mean, plus it was midnight, so they were probably like, clean it up in the morning. Yeah, but I mean, it was just part of what you did. This chicken jockey thing. I mean, it was like, if it's destructive, not cool. Yeah. But I mean, as far as the audience participation, I mean, it's no different than was it last year when the Taylor Swift concert movie came out? The people were singing in front of the stage and stuff like that. My daughter was one of them. I mean, they were all out there. And as people went along, to watch it and didn't expect that, it's like, sorry, but you're really not the intended audience either. Right. And for the people who got upset when people were, and I get it, singing along to Wicked. That was another recent occurrence. So there's been a lot of this happening, a lot more audience participation, but it's not a new thing. Right. And, people getting bent out of shape. Now, if they want to do like shows where it's like, this is a sing-along show and this is not a sing-along show, if they want to do that, that's cool. Yeah. But people are getting a little bit out of shape over some of this. And a lot of it's, to do about nothing. Yeah. But I will say that, I mean, there was, people screaming and yelling and
you're showing,
but nothing. I didn't see anything flying through the air.
No vandals.
And I will say that I think the kids were disappointed because nobody did do anything.
Yeah, Yeah, well, you set the precedent, especially if they give you the sheet. That's sort of.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like,
we're going to see some fun stuff here.
Some stuff and nothing happened.
No, not so much.
Yeah, because you're going to end up in movie jail.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it was a fun movie for really only having a very cursory understanding of that universe. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And the kids liked it. Yeah, minus the wanton destruction.
Yeah, well, you need some of that in your life, otherwise it's just not exciting.
Yeah.
One area that you do know a little bit about, if you don't know about Minecraft, Marvel.
Yes. So here's a fun thing. And I was wanted to talk to you about it. Obviously Marvel, they had a little bit of dip. I don't know that I even call it a dip in quality because.
Are we talking about Captain America 1979?
No.
Because it was pretty good.
So we had a period there, it was the sort of like the Marvels. The movie, and then the Ant-Man and Quantumania.
Right.
Now, both of those movies, I didn't have a problem with. I didn't take an issue with them. I enjoyed them. I actually really enjoyed the Marvels. The musical number was a little meh.
Yeah, that was odd.
I didn't need it. And I get the whole thing with MODOK.
Yeah.
But,
with the visual effects. And
I definitely get that. I mean, because it could have been better. But, I mean, he's a dopey.
Yeah.
He's a cool character, but he's also kind of dopey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a gigantic head with tiny limbs. It's, I mean, what are you going to do with that?
But, there was also this sort of like, it's just the pendulum swinging, the anti-pendulum, the contrarian pendulum.
Right.
They've been so successful. Let's knock them down a few pegs. So there's been a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then not to mention whatever other things that might be influencing, a sort of wave of negativity.
Right.
But, Marvel has been working its way back. And one of the first things, was a couple months ago. You saw it. I didn't see it at the time, which was Captain America Brave New World.
Right.
Yeah, not New World Order, which was the original title, but they changed it because they're like, yeah. So I happened to catch that now that it's available on streaming. And you saw it in the theater, but we didn't talk about it at the time. So I thought, you know what? We're already rambling.
Yeah. Let's
talk about what that and also what's happening with Marvel.
Yeah. To your point, you said this was the first one you hadn't seen?
This is the first Marvel movie I have not seen in the theater. It was probably when we were wiped out with influenza A.
Oh, well, that's a fair reason.
And that pretty much just was a bomb on the household for like a month.
Yeah, not quite as fun.
No.
Well, while you were having fun doing that, I was going out to the movie theater and watching Captain America Brave New World.
Yeah, you got to see this.
Yeah, I did. I just rub it in your face.
Yeah, that's why I watched, I was like, oh yeah, well, check this out. And watched Captain America in 1979.
Yeah. Well,
and then I sneezed.
Right.
Wiped out the rest of the family.
Anyway, we
saw this.
So I saw it in theaters. I thought it was pretty decent. I know, there's been a lot of divisiveness around it. But it seems like any more Marvel movies are that way. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to the movie theater at this point. Just to have fun, have an entertaining time. And I thought it was largely entertaining.
It was largely entertaining. I would say if people hadn't seen The Falcon and Winter Soldier, it probably would be worth investing in that.
Yeah, a little confusing because that's when Falcon sort of takes the mantle of Captain America.
Yeah, that last episode of the series is actually called Captain America and Winter Soldier. It is, there's a lot going on in this movie, and this movie had a lot of reshoots. Now, reshoots are, they have said many times, reshoots are baked into the Marvel process. They do a lot of reshoots. They are the studio. They are they're not doing it for other people. So they are taking on their own costs, and it is part of their process. And they start to, when they're making these movies, sometimes things don't quite work the way they wanted them to, especially when these movies are so interwoven with each other and the timing of other productions and other shows all the time. And they're constantly reworking ideas and sometimes it's in process. I can imagine, for the people who work on these movies, it has to be maddening. And there has been, for the special effects houses, there's been some negativity around that because it's just grueling to do all
this. A lot of demands.
Giancarlo Esposito is in this movie. He wasn't originally in the movie. He's part of the reshoots.
Yeah.
So there's entire sections of this movie that were clearly shot later. If you watch the initial trailer when it comes out, a lot of that, half that stuff is not going to be in the movie when you see it.
I will say Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I know they went through a lot of reshoots because that came out during the pandemic. Yeah. And there was a storyline that hit a little too close to home for pandemic times.
Oh, yeah.
And they had to cut that out. And I felt like there was a lot of that storyline that was still there, but not.
It definitely just felt like part of the story was missing.
Yeah.
And that's because it was.
Right.
It was missing.
Yeah, I think the good parts in that show were good. So I think on a bad day, reshoots can provide that But I mean, obviously, we don't know what the movie was when they started shooting Captain America: Brave New World. But in general, I think, for a popcorn kind of flick, it worked pretty well. I do kind of wish there was more Red Hulk, maybe earlier in the movie, a little more of a storyline there.
So here's my feelings about that, is that I wish it would have been a surprise.
Yeah, well, it was not that.
No, they put that front and center, and I think that kind of hurt the movie. I think. Did you see the Flash movie? Yeah. The reveal with Michael Keaton as Batman, same thing. I was like, man, if that would have been a surprise in the theater, can you imagine? Yeah. That movie would be, people would be raving about that movie. Right. Instead of just complaining about how bad the CGI was, and it was really bad. Yeah. This is another one where it's like, I kind of wish they wouldn't have had that. There's a lot of this movie, I mean, this isn't a breakdown of the movie, but I mean, the whole thing, it's like, it does touch on a lot of things that have been like loose threads throughout Marvel. Right. You've got Man-Hand Island, Giant Hand Island.
From the Eternals.
The Eternals, the Celestial Island.
Man-Hand Island.
I don't know what it's called.
I think that was a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah. Man Island, and so they're like, okay, well, we've got to address that this thing's been sticking out. And every now and then they would touch on it, but by and large, they kind of like just, everybody's like, are you guys ever going to talk about the fact that there's this huge man sticking out of the ocean? Yeah, they do. And you know what? It's the source of adamantium, which is Wolverine's skeleton. And then they've got Tim Blake Nelson as the leader. They even initially had his character looking more comic accurate, but that character,
he was the scientist.
He's the scientist
who was helping Edward Norton. And at the end of that movie,
he got some gamma goo in his head wound, and his head started getting big. Yeah. In the comics, he's just got like a really large head. Yeah. And there is some character art out there you can find where they show the character. And I think they probably, I don't know if they got so far as doing prosthetics or makeup tests of that. He looks kind of silly. Yeah. He just looks silly.
Does he look like MODOK?
Silly in a different way. He just got a big head, He kind of a little bit like a cone head, green cone head kind of a thing. And so they went with this kind of bulbousy thing. Yeah. He's supposed to be this. He is this. The character in the comic. He's incredibly super smart. Can think of everything, every scenario. What's interesting though is the reshoots. You can tell his parts are reshot because they've got the president's about to give a big speech in the Rose Garden. And then they cut to a scene where it's just Sam and Big Head. And it looks kind of green screen. They're like over there off to the side and there's nobody else around. Yeah. And it's just kind of one of those things is like, this was shot later. Right. This movie, it's okay. It's not terrible. It's certainly not a bad movie. It's an enjoyable movie. Yeah. I feel like this is a movie that's threading these movies to this movie. Yeah. I think this is definitely, there's a lot that this is setting up. I will say it's pretty impressive with all of this stuff that they were able to, kind of bring the deck back together more or less. And it works. This was the first step towards Marvel making a comeback. And I think personally that this summer is going to be sort of their return to form. Yeah. So what do we got right now? We have Daredevil Reborn. We just finished, right? Yeah, we just finished Daredevil. Yeah. And that, the fans have been there from the beginning. Out of all of the Marvel Netflix shows, and they're all on Disney Plus now. Right. But out of all of them, Daredevil, I think, had probably the biggest amount of love. And Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, and Charlie Cox. I mean, those they have been there and engaging and all in on this. And if you ever get a chance to watch those two, not acting, is just so funny because they're just a couple goofs, but they are so committed to making this work. And we've seen Charlie Cox make these appearances. I mean, we saw him in Far From Home, Spider-Man. And that was a big moment. I mean, you know, for a movie full of big moments, how big that moment was for people to see, you know, crazy. 5 minutes of Matt Murdock.
Yeah. I remember that in the theaters. There was some huge reaction at that point too.
Yeah. And it's because people love the character. And I think we will finally see, hopefully, Daredevil make it to the big screen.
Yeah. Other than the one little cameo.
Yeah. Whatever is happening in this new series is clearly going to be referenced in the bigger universe and in the MCU.
Well, I look forward to seeing how that plays out. I think I've watched only the first couple episodes of this, so don't say anything more. So to move on, so you don't spoil me, what else we got?
Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Everything is really positive, and people are saying really good things.
So the idea is you bring together a bunch of misfits.
Bring in the misfits.
Yeah, you got people from the Black Widow movie characters. You have Winter Soldier.
The U.S. agent, or
U.S. agent.
Kurt Russell's son, who I mean, I remember when they first showed him in Falcon and Winter Soldier, he just looked like a dork.
Yeah,
it was just bad framing.
Yeah,
because then later when they showed him, it was like, oh yeah, and then you also realize, oh my god, there are certain times where it's like, God, he looks just like Kurt Russell.
So the Thunderbolts, you have all these characters.
All these characters, the misfits. And it felt like Suicide. I was like, oh, it's called Suicide Squad, which they made twice. You know, one time good.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
But
hopefully this one will...
But the reaction, the initial reactions seemed to be really positive.
Yeah.
So, you know, there we go. So we had Captain America, Brave New World. Now we got Thunderbolts. Buzz is good.
Yeah.
And we got the biggie. Fantastic Four coming out in July.
Now, why is this the big dog?
Okay, well, first of all, I mean, this is literally Marvel's first family.
Yeah.
This is the first time in the comic book history. This was the first time there was a super team. It came out in the 60s. You had the Human Torch, Johnny Storm. Now, he was a character that existed before, but it was a different character. Okay. Ben Grimm, the Thing. Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, and then Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards.
Yeah.
They were a family and had the family dynamic. They lived together. What was interesting about the Fantastic Four in the comic books is that there was no secret identity. Everybody knew who they were. You know, if you don't know the story, they flew to space, they got zapped with some space stuff, and they came back and they all transformed.
Yeah.
To varying degrees of success have touched upon like how it's sort of their attributes. You know, Reed's trying to be everywhere at once. He's the Mr. who can do everything. So he's stretchy. And then, you know, Sue feels like sometimes she's not seen, so she's invisible. And, you know, Johnny's a hothead because he's young. So he, you know,
so what do we do with that character? Put him on fire.
And then Ben Grimm is like rough. So he becomes the Thing. So anyway, they've been around forever. There's so many comic books and multiple movies. The Roger Corman movie, which is unofficially available.
Yeah. No one wants to talk about that.
No one wants to talk about that. We might do it someday. Which has a great documentary about it. But you know, that was the whole history behind that movie is fascinating and weird, and we'll have to save that.
Yeah.
Then there were the Fox Fantastic Four movies. Yeah. You know, the first one. Which was fine. It was okay. I mean, you know, my argument always was, me personally, I was always like, it'll be okay until you get to Mr. Fantastic, and then being stretchy, it's just always going to look kind of dumb.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to pull that off.
And then they made the second movie, and it was like, hey, it's the Rise of the Silver Surfer. Yeah. You got Silver Surfer in there. Right. He's cool. And then you got Galactus, and everybody's all excited. Yeah. And Galactus as a character is this, you know, world devourer, giant being. In the Rise of the Silver Surfer, he's just a big cloud. And right off the bat, I was like, you're never going to get these movies right. Yeah. And then they again in the aughts or in the 2020s. I didn't see
2015, I think.
Was that really? Wow.
I think so.
So they did the one, the recent, most recent Fantastic Four movie.
Another Fox
movie, but they went dark and gritty, and I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, this is a thing, is that the Fantastic Four isn't really a lot of dark and gritty things have happened story wise, but the idea of the Fantastic Four isn't dark and gritty.
Yeah.
So I've been, kind of like, not that excited. And then I heard what they were doing with this, which is, maintaining a 1960s setting.
Yeah.
And as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, I'm on board with that, because it's colorful, it's bright, it's optimistic. I mean, a lot of stuff is going to change the entire Marvel universe in this upcoming movie. Whether you know about the Fantastic Four or not, we know that they exist. We know that it's set in the 1960s. Obviously, nobody has ever talked about them in any of the universe stuff that we've seen. Right. Which is to imply that we are not looking at our universe. Yeah. And that's all I know. I mean, that's all I know is the retro futurism. I think they're going to have a lot of fun with this movie, and then it's going to be like some high stakes drama. And hey, the Silver Surfer and Galactus, the way he's supposed to be, are in the movie. This is pretty exciting. Pretty exciting stuff.
Well, in the new trailer, well, not really trailer, that chair trailer that came out for the newest Avengers movie.
Oh, yeah.
So we know from that, the characters from Fantastic Four will be in it. You got the characters from Thunderbolts. You got old characters from the old Fox X-Men.
The X-Men,
movie, a number of others. So it's a lot
coming in.
Yeah,
a lot coming in. They're
right.
They're going all in. I think Marvel, kind of knew that, with the like I said, the sort of unfair 1-2 punch of Ant-Man and the Marvels. They're like, all right, you know what? We got to toss a Hail Mary. And they did it last year at Comic-Con, which was, first they said, hey, the Russo brothers are back. And the Russo brothers are responsible for some of the best Marvel movies. Yeah. Starting with Winter Soldier, which I will always put pretty high towards the top. And I mean that as a genuine good movie. Yeah. It is, yeah. And then, the Avengers movies. Right. Infinity War and, Endgame. So bringing them in, I was like, well, that's huge. But they had said, because they were done after Endgame. They're like, they were tired. It's a major undertaking. Right. They said the only thing that would get them to come back is if they did
Secret Wars.
Wars. Right. Exactly. At Comic-Con last year, I remember watching the recaps. It was in the middle of the night. I was like, oh, what because I'm not there. Yeah. Well, what happened? And there's the big reveal that, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doctor Doom. Yeah. And that was basically Marvel just going all in. They just pushed all their chips in. All right. So
they had the opportunity to pivot
based on that the teaser with the chairs. Is they're going to just put every possible thing.
Can't imagine the budget on that movie.
Oh, it's going to be massive.
Just in actors alone.
So they know. I think they're well aware that they're in a place where this all has to come together. But this is the first time that they really genuinely get to bring them all together. They did with Deadpool, with Wolverine and Deadpool. Because, this is the first time it was a Disney movie, but they brought in all the Fox, this was sort of like, a farewell to all the Fox, actors and characters. But we also saw that Channing Tatum. Well, apparently he's not farewell. I would maybe streamline his costume a little bit. It was a little he had a little bit of
when you have a broken neck,
the Bruce Wayne, the first Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman, where he couldn't turn. But we'll fix that. But I think even that was a highlight, and that was something that he put so much work and so much effort into making that movie happen. And then when the Disney deal happened, it was like, nah. Right. So it's kind of cool that he gets to come back with that.
Yeah, it is.
Fun. So, I think we are at a Marvel Renaissance. I'm going to call it right now. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Always have fun with those movies. You know, I mean, take it for what they are. They're entertainment, and it's fun to have that world building and to do what they've done with that entire universe. It's fun to see it succeeding again.
Well,
hopefully.
and I think they were like, okay, we've got too many things going on. And there was a lot.
Yeah.
At the dawn of Disney Plus, you know, the first thing they did was announce all these shows. There's so many shows and so many characters. And again, it was like, are we going to see these characters again? I like Moon Knight, but we can see him again? I hope so. You know, She-Hulk. Again, they were just cranking out so much stuff, putting out movies, now they've sort of like, they're not putting out as many shows. They're taking their time with them. They're not putting out as many movies. They're taking their time with them. And they're kind of going in a like, let's just go in that direction instead of all the directions.
Yeah.
And I think they'll be better for it.
Yeah. Little focus.
Yeah.
You know, talking about all this, you obviously have a lot of background, comic book lover, big film history. I mean, otherwise we really wouldn't be doing this. So I have an important question.
Yes.
Who are you?
Who am I? Well,
I feel like maybe somebody would like to know.
Yeah.
Namely me.
Oh, yeah. You, anybody who might be watching, like, who are you and why?
Oh, that's a good follow-up. That's a good follow-up.
Why should I care?
Right.
I think when I was a kid, I was always more of a movie kid, tuned into pop culture, television, old TV, old movies. When I was little, I was the monster kid because I liked watching all those old monster movies.
Yeah.
And here in St. Louis, we had two networks, two stations. We had Channel 11 and Channel 30. And on the weekends, they would show old horror movies. I think they were cheap. And there used to be a show called Creature Features, and it was always a double feature of old horror movies. And I would watch those and eat those up. And I would always have, I'd watch them and then I have nightmares. And it was the same thing when I was a kid, and I'd watch Ultraman and Johnny Sacco. I would watch those and then I'd wake up with nightmares because of the big giant monsters.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen those
thing
shows,
was, I don't do it unless it gives me nightmares.
Yeah, I always would wake up with nightmares. I remember every night when I'd wake up, my mom would be like, "That's it, you can't watch it anymore." No, I'm okay. But it was just really tuned into that kind of stuff, and I always just really got passionate and excited about old movies. Movies in general. I mean, to me, they weren't old. When I was watching Johnny Quest or Speed Racer or Lost in Space, they weren't old to me. I didn't know. I didn't have like a gauge like, oh, I'm watching this old show from the 60s. It's like, no, I don't.
The two channels you had said, this is what you get. And you said, okay.
Well, I was all in, And I was always into, things like horror and sci-fi and comic books. But we talked about, like in our Captain America thing, there wasn't a lot of options.
Right.
And sci-fi, there wasn't really a lot of options. I grew up with younger parents, so I was exposed to a lot of stuff that I probably, today I would be like, I don't know if I would have showed my kid that.
Yeah.
But that's what I grew up watching that stuff. So it was just like, yeah.
What's the biggest example of a movie maybe you shouldn't have seen when you were younger?
Holy mackerel. Well, I mean, I fought tooth and nail to go to Jaws.
Yeah.
And I was 8 years old.
8, okay.
And I remember my dad even telling me, "You don't want to see that." I'm like, "Yeah, I do. I really do. I really want to see it." And he's like, "No, you don't. You don't want to see it. You're not going to like it. It's just going to be scary, and you're going to get scared." And I said, "There's no way I'm going to get scared. I'll be fine." He took me, and I sat with my legs up in the seat and his hand over mine the whole time because I was
But
like,
his arm got pretty
tired. I was like, this was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
And shouldn't have seen that. And there was a lot of movies back then. There wasn't a PG-13. Mm-hmm. So there were a lot of movies that, in hindsight, you can look at and go, oh, maybe not. I don't know. Probably shouldn't have seen that. But I was never scarred by anything. And if it was on TV, then it was fair game.
Yeah.
And this is pre-cable. Okay. So it was on TV. It was just on TV. So TV had to be okay. So I watched a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have watched on television. Mm-hmm. In 1977, opening weekend, that's when I saw Star Wars. And I have to be honest, it's like leading up to Star Wars. I remember seeing the trailer maybe once. Mm-hmm. I was 10.
10, okay.
So, and that came out May 25th. 1977, 5/25/77. I think we saw it that Sunday, and we went like after church. And there was a big line, but we got there, and then we stood in a line and wrapped around. And again, I'm like, I don't know what, I didn't have any awareness, but I knew something was going on. Like, this is
What's a big
weird.
deal?
I've never like had to stand outside a movie theater.
Yeah.
I wrapped around the theater.
Yeah.
And we got in and sat down, and the opening sequence is so famous now, and it's always kind of laugh because my sister at the time was 5, and she had to go to the restroom, and it was right as the opening crawl was fading off into into space. Wow. My mom took my sister to the restroom, and here comes the Tana 4.
Horrible time.
We had no idea, right? And here comes the Tana 4, and then here comes the which is like, whoa, look at that. And then here comes the Star Destroyer, and we're like, oh my God. And then all the big shootout and all this stuff. And then my mom made it back just as like Darth Vader's telling one of his guys, they're like, oh, I don't know if you should be taking the princess and all this stuff, holding her in bold. And my mom's like, what did I miss? And my dad's like, oh my God. Like we were trying to explain, like, oh my God, there's a ship's flying and all this stuff. And it was like, that was it. After that, I was just like, whoa. And I had this big awareness into like, and then I was like all about the magazines and everything. And then I was like so tuned in. So anything that was even coming close to that, which obviously the movie makers and the studios knew too. They're like, oh, if we can get some of that Star Wars money. Yeah. And that was it. And in fact, after that, I started drawing and writing stories all the time. And I remember I was really working hard to figure out my TIE fighter. I had the hardest time to get the TIE fighter to get the wings just right. They were always like, one was, like it was always like not the right shape. And I remember I had a teacher who sent me home with a note that told my parents that I had become too preoccupied with Star Wars. Yeah. And that I needed to, kind of keep some of that stuff at home or whatever. But I remember my parents looking at the photos or at the illustrations and thinking, oh, they're pretty good. And so they did not tell me that I was too preoccupied with Star Wars. And it really didn't help, and that's it. And from that point on, I was just like hardwired into just movies in general. I was always like paying attention. And I was like, then I started getting into things like directors and actors and producers and understanding special effects more, and just and remembering stuff. And that became the point where I just started to like I was just taking in all this stuff. So a short version of who I am is just somebody who literally kind of grew up on the tales of Star Wars. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I think that
it didn't and
never left.
Never left.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that transitions pretty well to you disappeared. Oh, there he is.
There he is. Yeah,
I lost you for a second there.
I know.
I wasn't sure where you'd gone.
What about you though? Who are you? Tell me about like how.
I don't know. Actually, you have a really good memory for that stuff, and the audience will find out my memory's not very good. I try really hard. I do my best, but a lot of times it doesn't work. So I lean on you for having the memory most of the time.
Most of the time, unless it's Jason Momoa's name. He barely could not remember for the life of me. Yeah.
So memory aside, I've always really had a similar love for movies. My dad is really, really big into movies. I mean, his entire life has watched probably more movies than a vast majority of people, if not the most. I've always kind of shared that love with him, and we talk about movies a lot and have that nice bond. So, one of the first recollections of a movie theater for me was Jurassic Park. We did that short video the last time. I'm sure that wasn't the first movie theater experience, but that was one I remember. And as we've established, my memory is that.
Right.
So,
but you remembered that.
I did remember that. And that was, that was a big thing. Really, the storytelling. Again, like he didn't just show us a dinosaur. He showed us what movies could do. And that was sort of, one of those early moments that made me really fascinated with the story, with storytelling. And Back to the Future is another one. And time travel as a little kid.
It's the best.
You can't beat that.
I think that's something that everybody genuinely kind of likes and gets excited about.
Even bad time travel movies, I really like. Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Fantastic movie.
Such a good movie. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
But it is such a good movie. Out of the Van Damme repertoire.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to put
Those
that
are always
way up there.
Right.
You know?
We got the 4K coming pretty soon here.
Ooh, that
should be pretty good.
It should be good. I mean, the picture will look better.
Yeah.
And that's it.
My dad has a phrase for those kinds of movies. It's the greatest movie ever made. Which is sort of, it's like, it's clearly not the greatest movie ever made, but it's one of those you just sit back and you just enjoy to its fullest extent.
It's the greatest Time Cop ever made.
And you know what? There's a TV show and a Time Cop 2.
Oof.
But it is Time Cop 1, the best.
Is Jean-Claude in Time Cop?
No.
Okay.
He wasn't in either of those.
Well, that's probably why I don't know about him because, I mean, if he's not doing Splitsville.
What's the point?
Because if you don't get Jean-Claude, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, well, we're going to have to get the splits in there somewhere.
Not like Darth Maul splits. But
No. That's totally different. Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Voluntary splits.
Right.
Yeah.
He does a lot of that.
He does.
Yeah.
People love those splits.
Like, oh, he's doing the thing.
Yeah. It's like, oh.
Okay. Great. Yeah.
Did he do it in Universal Soldier?
Oh, probably. I
don't remember the splits.
I'd be surprised if... maybe he did it off camera.
Yeah.
If anything.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did it at some point on that shoot. You got the grip going, hey, do the thing. Do the thing. And then I don't want to do the thing. He's like, do the thing. And then he does the thing. Yeah. So anyway, I just really like digging into a lot of movies that, I haven't watched. And I will say, too, sort of what got us started on this even being a thing.
In infamy.
Yeah, was we worked together. We started working together 2019.
6 years ago. And work was much like this, where in the industry that we're in, we call it brainstorming.
Oh, there you go.
And we would brainstorm by talking about movies.
Yeah. There are even sort of pilot episodes to this with other clients that we had where we just do stupid stuff. And we said, hey, that'd be fun to actually do that for ourselves.
I knew you were a movie guy because I walked into your office.
And saw all my junk.
And you had all of this stuff. Yeah. And you had, all the Funko figures and a lot of like replicas and cars and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, this guy, he's speaking my language.
And I think I even said, all the junk, and then you're like, oh, this isn't junk.
Yeah, it's not junk. It's very special.
Yeah.
So, no, you had way too much of it to, be considered junk.
Absolutely. So, we bonded over that, and then we started talking about movies, and you slowly realized that I had not seen a number of movies, and it became kind of a thing.
It became a thing. I felt like...
Let's recreate.
Okay. So this is going to be...
So this is 6 years ago.
Yes, 6 years ago.
Jeff Goldblum, what do you think one of his best movies?
Oh, I would say, a great example would be like Jeff Goldblum. I mean, he's great in Fly. I mean, that was really the moment.
Never seen it.
Unbelievable. See, and now it's like, are you seriously never seen it?
No, I still have not seen it.
How the hell?
6 years ago, still have not seen it. So this would be the reaction.
This is
and still is the reaction.
Do we need to have a bake sale to help you?
Probably. Well, I was too busy watching Captain America 1979 3 or 4 times. But anyway, what sort of led us, I think at one point we said, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we started a podcast?
Yeah.
Where you'd say movie, I'd say I've never seen it. And then you go, which is always the sound effect.
Yeah.
It'd be the podcast. And then we started thinking about it, and it's like, you know what? I feel like there's a place where we can create a show that brings up some of these movies, sort of educates, and I would get some of the knowledge that I don't have
and
before.
we share the knowledge.
We share the knowledge, and the Hubbubbery was sort of born out of that idea.
Then it was born.
Yeah.
Still, though, that's like not The Fly?
Yeah, no, not The Fly. But also, I have a little additional thing. I am going to pull out a movie that I just got. That was just released.
Okay.
We're big disc guys.
We are. We're physical media people.
I am a huge fan of the lead in this movie.
Okay.
I'm going to reveal it. See what you think.
And you have not seen this?
I have not seen this movie.
Okay.
But I bought it. So I'm going to watch
You're
it.
halfway there.
Although
you and I both have a small mountain of things that we see.
We both talked about that. And again, we're both big into collections.
Yes.
All right. So this movie that I've not seen, Sneakers with Robert Redford.
Yeah, really? You've never seen that? Oh.
Robert Redford, one of my favorite actors. Have you seen Sneakers?
Yeah, I saw it in theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I even saw it on a press screening. I used to write movie reviews because that's what do you do?
Really? You're almost qualified to do this.
Yeah. But there's a Sidney Poitier. It's one of his later movies, obviously. Dan Aykroyd's in it, and River Phoenix.
Directed by Phil Alden Robinson.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Who did Field of Dreams?
Oh, okay.
Have you seen that?
I have seen Field of Dreams, yeah.
Okay. That is actually kind of surprising. This is one that kind of fell off the radar. It was, it was a fun movie. I think this was a summer movie. When it came out, a lot of people, they were torn because you got Robert Redford, but it's also got Dan Aykroyd. And then you have River Phoenix and Mary McDonnell and all these actors. And it was like, is it a comedy? Is it, because they didn't know. It's like, you got Robert Redford, who, is in some of the greatest movies. You've got The Candidate and All the President's Men.
Butch Cassidy,
all these, his great movies. And then you got Dan Aykroyd, nothing against you. Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd's actually been in a bunch of movies where you forget that he's in it. Like Driving Miss Daisy and that sad bee movie. The kid gets stung by bees and dies. Sorry, spoiler. Oh, My Girl. I think he was in that too. Okay. But you know what I mean? Like, he was in... There
was an unusual log line for My Girl.
The sad bee movie.
Sad bee movie. A guy gets stung by bees and dies.
It's like, oh, God. But he's been in a lot of movies that aren't necessarily straight comedy.
Yeah. Right.
And this is one where I think people didn't know how to react to it when it came out, but I remember thoroughly enjoying it. I think it's a caper.
Yeah.
A caper movie.
Yeah. It's an ensemble.
Now a lot of people don't even know it.
Right.
I think it's kind of lost to the ages.
I'm greatly looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Kino Studio Classics, Kino Lorber.
Yeah.
So they always have very solid releases there.
Yeah, River Phoenix. Who else?
Yeah.
Ben Kingsley. God.
Yeah, Ben Kingsley, who ages very well, actually.
Yeah.
He looks very similar in 92 here.
So
than he does right now.
That's one of those things is like, he's one of those people, I think, who kind of always looked kind of old.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't look old.
Yeah.
He
it's
looked
not
older.
a bad way to be.
F. Murray Abraham is another one who's always kind of looked old.
Yeah.
You could look at him in Amadeus and you can look at him on Mythic Quest, although I think they wrote his character out because of some issues.
Yeah.
But you look at him and he doesn't really look that different.
Yeah. So when you're younger, not a great quality to have.
Don't
want to
have that.
Pretty good. That's
but me, it's like I've had this hairline since second grade.
Mine too. Mine is hat.
Yes.
As my hairline.
But that's that's a little bit of a shocker.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else you told me. These were things I would say The Godfather, and you'd say, never seen it.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, good God.
I have seen that now.
No, there's been very adverse reactions to some things. I'm like, I just don't understand. This is it. We have to have a show to talk about a movie to kind of make you see a movie.
Please. We need to do more, legitimately good movies because watching Captain America 1979 3 times, I have a great understanding of it.
Yes.
I'd rather watch Sneakers 3 times or something.
What you say, you don't know. I will be honest. I have
I'm
not
pretty
seen
sure
that. I don't think I've seen that. I don't know if I watched it on a home video because I am somebody who watches movies. I will watch movies over. Yeah. Some people don't like watching movies over and over. I know people who say, "Oh, I can't watch a movie more than once." I'm like, I don't understand that kind of crazy talk.
Yeah. I like watching movies multiple times. The thing is, though, it's like, well, do I want to watch this again? Or do I want to watch one of the pile of movies like The Fly that I've never seen?
I understand. I understand what you're saying. But, there are times where I'm like... sometimes, me especially, like, I'll be like, trying to find out, flick this one, that one, and this is me, like, doing the remote.
Yeah, because you have
to, because I'm so fast.
Yeah.
And then I'm, like, looking at the pile, and then I'm like, and then I end up watching RoboCop again.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why you have staples, and RoboCop fits into that. Star Wars.
That's on there. I watch Big Trouble in Little China every summer.
Die Hard movies every summer.
Yeah. I watch Jaws every 4th of July, which basically says how much fun I am because I'm like, I'll look out the window if there happen to be fireworks. But overall, it's like, I'd rather
give me the killer shark.
I like to watch Jaws.
Yeah,
because we have a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about us.
That is, as you can see, one of us needs to do a little homework.
Little is a nice way to put it. Yeah, I have a whole lot of homework. Maybe I'll watch The Fly tonight.
Yeah, and then we can talk about The Fly 2.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So was the first fly squished, and the second fly, was that its brother or something?
So the Fly 2, I think it's actually his son.
Oh, okay.
And it's Eric Stoltz, pretty sure.
Is he replaced by Michael J. Fox?
Yeah, then Michael J. Fox comes in, and then they change the tone of the movie, and you know.
Oh, weird.
And they go back in time, and Marvin Berry calls his cousin Chuck, and it's great. It's a good time.
It's good. That sounds like a way I would describe The Fly too, due to my memory lack of seeing it.
Yeah, it's the first one is great.
I'll tell you a bit of trivia, even though I have not seen The Fly. You may not know. Did you know that it was produced by Mel Brooks?
Yes. Damn. Same as the Elephant Man.
Elephant Man?
Yeah, it's fascinating. Mel Brooks, as a producer, does not put his name on movies for fear of people thinking, oh, it's a comedy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, it's a whole other side of him. Yeah, Mel Brooks is the best.
Yeah, he really is.
He's one of those. I put him up there at National Treasure.
Yeah. The Nicolas Cage movie?
Well, those two.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so obviously there was a lot of rambling in our Hubbubbery Ramblery.
I'm all rambled out.
Rambling fools.
Rambling men.
Yeah, rambling men. Rambling gambling
that sounds, men. We should turn that into a song or something.
Yeah, rambling men. I think I got some ideas. We'll have to jot those down after this.
Okay.
Now that we've talked about this and kind of talked about the general idea of movies that are widely regarded or people talk about that maybe you haven't seen, I think it might be worthwhile asking anybody out there, like, what are some movies that everybody talks about or tell you need to have seen or can't believe you haven't seen The Fly, and tell us what they are. Share with us. There's no shame here.
No. Man, if you've made it this far and you're going to actually answer this question, we'll be good friends.
Yeah. I mean,
please talk to us.
I'll send you a Star Crunch.
Oh, nice. I don't know what that is.
Oh, yeah. They're the little chocolate things. I think they're Little Debbie. They're like a sort of like a coconutty, and they got like Rice Krispies, and they're covered in chocolate.
Well, thank you for joining us on the
They're delicious.
Hubbubbery Ramblery today.
Yeah, don't freeze them though. You'll break a tooth.
Okay, I don't know what you're. I mean, you can describe it all you want. I'm still not going to know what you're talking about.
If you know what a Star Crunch is, please chime in.
Okay, great. Well, this has been the Hubbubbery Ramblery. Thank you very much.
Ramble on.
Ramble on.
The Hubbubbery Ramblery will return with more questions, more chaos, and even less structure than before. A fully owned subsidiary of the Hubbubbery, a proudly non-defunct division of Hubbubbery Industries, LLC. Like, share, and do your part for organized disarray. Until next time, go forth and hubbub.